fucking grappling for round after round with like no breaks. Okay. Then all of a sudden, when my focus was on pure size and that's all I cared about, I became a lazy bastard. I mean, I started having seriously the conditioning of a sack of manure, and it pissed me off because I'm not like that. I was never like that before. So I completely revamped my training to put an emphasis on conditioning as well as strength. And all of a sudden, I mean, my gains started going through the roof. Okay. Another example is this. Let's talk about sex. How about that? Everybody likes talking about sex.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's do that. Just real quick here. Picture being a strong man. All right, big guy, broad shoulders, women swooning all around him. Okay, they love big strong man. Right now, imagine being a big fat lethargic strong man. Not very appealing, is it?
Right.
Okay. Now imagine how sad that guy's going to perform in the bedroom. Right. Can we say stud in the streets, but dud in the sheets? I mean, seriously, I mean, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a guy that the guy can barely perform, and that's just not good. Now, imagine a guy that's able just to smash through workouts. The guy just doesn't stop. He's the kind of guy that goes through workouts that make your average gym goers like shaking their boots, literally, just at the thought of trying to go through a workout like that. A guy like that, I mean, he's going to be a sexual tyrannosaurus in the bedroom, and that's the truth. The guy's just going to be nonstop. And the same thing, with the ladies out there, they'll be the same way as well. And, we can have some fun with this topic, but I mean, there's some truth to it. And I mean, obviously there's some benefits to be had when you have a good sex life, right?
So I've heard, Ray.
So you've heard. Yeah, I've heard too, right? Yeah, I've read. Yeah. When it comes to combat sports, one of the good things at combat sports, especially mixed martial arts and strongman even, they've shown that there is an importance to being in good shape. Okay. I mean, try rolling around with someone in the mat or going for a few rounds in the ring and see what that'll do to you. I mean, it'll gas you out in no time. Something that's a little bit more serious. Okay. We had some fun on the sex end of things. Let's get a little bit more serious here is law enforcement and military. Okay. Mm-hmm. This isn't a joke. All right. If you have to take somebody down, if you have to subdue somebody, whether it's a guy that's, drunk or tripping out on something like that. Okay. The guy is not somebody who's going to go along with you, easily or quietly. Okay. He's got his adrenaline pumping through his system. You're going to need to take this guy down. All right. And adrenaline, a lot of people don't realize when you're amped up, you become like a machine. I mean, you've heard of mothers picking up cars and all these other things. Okay. Adrenaline has a lot to do with that. And then when you throw drugs into the mix, okay, all of a sudden now, I mean, this person could potentially be impossible to take down. Okay. This is not a bullshit situation. Only one person is going to be walking out of that situation alive. Okay. It's either you or him. And if you're thinking it sure shit isn't going to be you, well, then you better start sweating now. Okay. So you're not the one bleeding later on. And I mean, I know this is getting a little serious, but I mean, this is the reality. And a lot of guys think just jogging around with lighter than air sneakers and, advanced moisture wicking clothing, it feels like they're not even wearing anything. They jog around for a couple of minutes or even a couple of miles and they think, you know what? Oh, I'm in shape. Well, no, because when you're in the field, okay, when you're on duty, you're lugging around a pile of gear. Okay. You're potentially tired from being up late. You're potentially, fatigued from having to run the guy down. You need to have extra in the tank to be able to finish the job. Okay. If not, it can get pretty bad if the guy gets away from you. Okay. You can get hurt. Somebody else could get hurt or worse. Okay. It's not a joke when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And then on business, slightly lighter end side of things, okay, it comes back to business. Okay, I mean, it could be a grind at times. I know I grew up in a family business and we still have one. Okay. In a business, there is no safety net. There is no timeout. You can't say, you know what, I'm going to have a family day or a sick day. There's none of that going on when you have your own business. For most people, entrepreneurs, they don't have that choice. Okay. There's no safety net. All right. And you got to be able to put up with the stress that comes every day. In the better shape you're in, the better you're able to handle that stress. A quick tip, negotiations. One of the biggest issues and one of the biggest enemies you'll ever face in negotiations is fatigue. And it's actually a tactic that they'll use. They'll wear you down to get what they want out of you. And why? Because fatigue will make you do and say things and agree to things that you wouldn't otherwise. All right. Right. So a student, same thing. You're fatigued. Well, you're not going to learn all that well. I know everybody wants to party in school and, I've had my fair share of partying and having fun. But the reality is, you're there to get an education. You want to get the most out of it. Okay. And, have your fun, and the better shape you're in, guess what? The more fun you could have, the better grades you could probably get too. You could handle and recover from it.
Right.
So couple quotes I want to wrap up with this section here is Vince Lombardi. okay, legendary football coach. He had a saying, a quote of his. It's attributed to him, and if you hear this, it's got a lot of truth to it. And it says, "Fatigue makes cowards of us all." You see, it's easy to be confident when you're full of energy, when you've had a lot of rest. It's a different story when your lungs are on fire and you feel like your strength is leaving you. I mean, that's where the wheat gets separated from the chaff. That's when you realize who really has it. Okay, so the more endurance you have, the more conditioning, the better shape you're in, the better you're able to demonstrate, that you're not a coward, right? That you have that courage.
Right.
And another one comes from a famous catch as catch can wrestler named Karl Gotch. Okay, he's called the god of wrestling in Japan. He's actually one of the guys that was behind. He was kind of, in a way, the grandfather of pride fighting over there, which is to a certain degree the predecessor to UFC. It's kind of like it is a mixed martial art over there. Type of competition, which are huge, obviously, in Japan and in the East in general. But he said that conditioning is your best hold. Okay, I mean, think about it again. It's like this: who's stronger? And it's the same thing even if it was wrestling. I mean, who's stronger? The guy who can lift 300 pounds, or the guy who could lift 500 pounds? Nick, who do you think is stronger?
Well, traditionally, I think people would say 500, but
true, but the reality is it depends. It's a bit of a trick question.
Right.
You put those two guys into a situation where conditioning is now being thrown in, okay? So now you got guys that are fatigued. When you're fatigued, you tend not to lift as much as you normally can when you're not fatigued. So the reality is the stronger guy is going to be the guy who can maintain his strength longer throughout the match or whatever it is he's involved in, okay? So the guy who could lift 500 pounds, if he's got no conditioning at all, okay, if he's got the conditioning of, a sack of manure, as I like to say.
Yeah.
All right, throw that one in there again. He's going to gas out and he's not going to have the energy to lift anything. The guy who could lift 300 pounds, who's technically, weaker than him, if he is in good shape, he's going to be able to demonstrate more of his strength for a longer period of time in that match. So where the 500-pound guy all of a sudden now is barely able to, lug up 200 pounds, the 300-pound guy is still able to maybe lug up, 250 pounds. It's a very simplistic example, but the concept is there. The principle is there.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me that's the intersection of conditioning and strength. I mean, what does strength mean if you can't apply it for longer than a few seconds to anything?
That's right. Right, exactly.
Okay, so real quick. Now, do you have any final thoughts to sort of tie this up? And any final thoughts to share with our audience about how to combine conditioning and strength, how to think about it, how to move forward?
Okay, I'd say don't be afraid of your conditioning work. You need to be intelligent about it. It'll definitely build your courage. And I know it sounds funny to bring something up like that in the realm of training, but there's truth to it, okay? Whether it's in your training or in your everyday life, okay? There's a lot of benefit. It'll help give you the gains, whether they're added muscle mass or if it's increased strength. Conditioning will help you get there if you do it correctly. And another thing I'd like to mention is Earl L. Lederman, okay? He's somebody who had his baselines. Again, another guy from, the better part of 100 years ago. Just very quickly, he said that you should be able to do the following, and this is how he said it. He would say, he believed every man should be able to save his own life. He should be able to swim far enough, run fast enough, and long enough to save his life in the case of an emergency. And the truth is that, maybe you don't have to save your own life. Maybe you got to save somebody else's life, okay? So here's what he said you should be able to do. He said you should be able to dip between parallel bars or between two chairs at least 25 times or more. Be able to swim at least half a mile or more. Be able to run at top speed 200 yards or more. Be able to jump over obstacles higher than your waist. Be in the condition to pull your body weight up, okay, chin-ups basically, until, chin over the bar, okay, none of this half rep crap. Okay, you got to be able to do it 15 to 20 times. He said if a man can accomplish these things, he needs to have no fear concerning the safety of his life, should he be forced to an emergency situation from which he alone may be able to save himself or save somebody else if they're in trouble. Okay, so I'm adding that last part.
Right.
So the question is your training providing you the capability to do these things? And this is a baseline. This is this is the minimum what you should be able to do. And, depending on what you're focusing on, you may be able to do more of one thing over the other because you're focusing, let's say, on your endurance a little bit more than strength right now or vice versa. And it will fluctuate to a certain degree, but you never should really be too far off from that if you really consider yourself to be in decent shape. Okay, and that's a minimum. That's
Right.
I think it's a really good way to go about it. And besides that, I guess there's the free report at the site, raytoulany.com// instant strength. That's www.raytoulany.com instant strength.
It's a free report that you're offering to people just so they can go get it right now, and they're going to increase their strength right away.
Yeah, it shows you how to go about performing your lifts in a manner which maximizes your strength at the same time, maximizes your safety as well. And with the 3 top lifts, the bench, the squat, and the deadlift, and they're the core of pretty much any type of training, whether it's, again, for muscle building purposes or strength or both.
All right, well, that's great, and we are out of time. Of course, if you, the listener, knows anybody who might find this topic interesting, you should go ahead and share this podcast with them. Make sure you go to raytoulany.com for all the episodes and all the information, and Ray blogs, and he's got some other things going on there. So go ahead and visit there. That's raytoulany.com, raytoulany.com. And Ray, it was great talking to you, and thanks so much.
Same here. I really enjoyed it, Nick. Thanks, pal.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about Ray Toulany and to get access to all exclusive interviews and courses, visit raytoulany.com. That's www.raytoulany.com.